So my career background is multicolored. There's many different things I've done in my career. Where I'm at now is I run a business. I've been running my business for the past 4 years, and I'm a podcaster and I'm a YouTuber, and that's what I'm really passionate about. Actually, is creating content, and I guess democratizing a lot of that information that is really difficult for people starting businesses or people who don't have funds to grow their business to access, because we're in this information economy situation where a lot of people who are starting out just don't have the knowledge to grow. And I don't think that's right. I think we need to support people who are innovators, right? So that's kind of what that's my thing at the moment. In terms of my background, well, I started off in science. So I've actually got a science degree. And then I started blogging just out of interest. And back when blogging was cool. So I think it was like 2011, 2010, around that kind of time. And I realized that actually what I really liked was communicating about science, but I didn't actually really want to be in a lab. So I finished my honors year. I was like, I don't want to be in a lab again. I don't want to. It was like banging my head against a brick wall for a year. So I was like, not going to do that. Respect to scientists in labs. Amazing that you guys can do that. Not for me. Went and joined an agency in like the sort of communications part of the agency, and sort of played in that space for quite a while. But I think because my parents were business owners, like I knew I always wanted to end up running my own business. So when I was 26, I left the company I was at. I was working in media, and yeah, started a business initially with a business partner, and then we split, and I kept plugging away, and yeah, that's how I got to where I am. With what I'm doing with the business now, I mean, 2020, not to harp on about it, but like I think every business is changing what it's doing to a certain extent, right? So, what I was doing was largely before 2020, before the pandemic, I was in sort of marketing consulting and brand consulting, doing a bit of coaching as well, just to help people essentially, you know, understand the technical aspects of how to grow their brand, how to market themselves, how to put all the processes together to do that. But once coronavirus hit, I could just see it wasn't really the right time to be doing that for a lot of people. And so I kind of was like, you know what? I'm going to actually just finish off the work I've got with current clients, and I'm going to have a break and think about what I really want to do. So I was like, I know that brand growth is something that I should always be doing. So I'm going to keep plugging away at the podcast, and which is great because that's kind of been paying off. But in that time, I kind of did some soul searching, and where I got to was like, what I really wanna do, and the only thing I really want to be doing is with people and making stuff, right? So before I was kinda doing a lot of, project management style work, and, for people who are familiar with agency style of working, you kind of manage a client and coordinate things and stuff, and I was like, with a lot of work going offshore and now with people kind of really looking at where am I spending money, what am I doing? I was like, I think the best way for me to serve people is to help them sort of gain the confidence to put themselves out there themselves. So, what I prefer to do is kind of go, let's sit down, let's have a chat about all of these different things that allow you to tell your best stories. Let's get your best stories recorded. And then we've got all this content to work with to pump out over the next 3, maybe even 6 months. It's content that you can write your book with, it's content that you can do stuff with. But instead of trying to have this like perfect brand strategy, I wanted it to be more like, let's get momentum. Let's actually, because a lot of people will put off the content aspect. Like they'll go, I won't put myself on camera. I want to do a podcast, but I won't do it. And I'm like, nah, we're just going to like have it there. So now you kind of don't have an excuse. And then I'll see what happens from here, because I'm seeing there's so many uses for interviewing. Like I do a little bit in for other people who like on their podcast shows, or I'll do it at an event. So there's so many different ways to use that skill of interviewing, but it's the thing that I'm super passionate about doing. So that's kind of the point I've gotten to. I've gotten so much advice because I'm someone who asks heaps of questions. But then I thought about it and I was like, I don't think I can pull something out of what I've heard that is the best career advice. I think what's happened is I think we actually give ourselves the best career advice. So I think what's happened is I've asked heaps of questions, I've listened to heaps of podcasts, I've read heaps of books, and all that information has gone in. And then it's sort of like for me, I can ask myself those questions. So I think the best advice comes from ourselves. And sometimes when I'm stuck, I'll just say, like, all right, what's going on for me right now? Where am I at? And then what needs to happen next for me to move forward? So it's like I think what we need to do at different stages of our career is, or at any stage of when we're feeling stuck, we need to be able to ask ourselves the questions rather than getting advice. But if you want an answer, because I'm like, I can't not give you an answer. I think the best advice, which actually just kind of, I don't even know who it came from, but my husband told me it. So my husband's an emergency doctor, and he, so he's had to study a lot, and like, he's in his 30s and he's still studying kind of thing. It's crazy. And he got this advice from, I think it was like a doctor when he was in med school or something. And they said, you need to eat your pancakes. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, so like, if you had one pancake for breakfast this morning, you could eat it, right? And if you had a pancake for breakfast tomorrow, you could eat it. But like if you didn't eat your pancake today and then you had two pancakes tomorrow, that's kind of a little bit harder. And then if you don't eat that, then you've got three pancakes. And eventually you're going to have 10 pancakes if you keep putting stuff off. And for me, who like I'm a massive procrastinator and I can definitely be a perfectionist at times, having that concept of like, no, I need to do it today because if I don't do it today, I'm going to have to do this plus all the stuff I need to do tomorrow. Like we can't catch up, at some point we can't catch up. And I think as an entrepreneur who gets, distracted by shiny things a lot, that's been really, really good advice, but I don't know where it came from. That's a really easy one for me. I wish I knew I was good enough. I wish I knew that like I was valuable as a person inherently because I'm a person. Like get we don't get taught that when it's crazy, but we don't really get taught that in school. We don't really get taught that as a teenager. And we're kind of almost told like you have to go do these other things to become worthy of getting a job, to become worthy of advancing your career. But if you're like, I'm good enough, then you've got the confidence to actually lean into the things that you're passionate about. Because like, I'm good enough to go and try this. And the thing is it will probably change, but you have to kind of start going somewhere. And if you don't think you're good enough, and for me, because I didn't think I was good enough, I got taken off on tangents where I thought, oh, that other person thinks this is good, or my parents expect this, or this is what I should be doing because I got good marks in this, or my teacher said that. We get sort of influenced by other people and what we think is success instead of going, well, actually, yeah, I'm good enough. So any decision I make is going to be the right one for me to start at, because it's going to change. I think, well, probably when I started my business, like I had no idea how tough it was going to be. Like I was 26, I got along with someone else at work. We were like, let's go start this business. And we just kind of threw ourselves into it. And that probably was a mistake. And it was probably one of the biggest ones, but it was also probably one of the best ones because I wouldn't have got here anyway, which I know sounds a bit cliche. Like, oh, I made these mistakes and I'm so grateful. But like, yeah, I mean, I kind of make mistakes all the time now, but I just don't call them mistakes. I call them like failed experiments. Oh, okay, I'm going to do this experiment. What happened in the experiment? Oh, that didn't work. Okay, so I've got some data now to work with. And what am I going to do to use that like, that's how we learn. So, um, yeah, I think probably going into partnership with someone at 26 without knowing what I was doing was probably one of the biggest ones. I gave a talk about this like a while back actually, and I think this probably is a big part of it. It's the ABCs of starting a business, which is always be curious. And I think that being curious has been throughout my life the thing that has Well, because I'm curious about myself and I'm curious about other people and I'm curious about the world, it's like I'll get there. I might not get there the fastest way, but I'm going to get to where I want to get to because I'm not going to let myself not ask the questions. So like I mentioned before about asking yourself those questions, what do I really want from my life? Oh, I don't know the answer to that. That's interesting. Or, "Oh, I felt really bad after that conversation. Why do I feel bad?" It's something that I learned, from, I guess, being in psychotherapy for a long time, was that kind of learning to be inquisitive about your feelings, learning to be inquisitive about your thoughts. So curiosity, yeah, if I had to boil it down to one thing, I think that would be key to where I am now. I don't know if we call that success or not, but where I am now.